Hello everyone, and this is Phoenix here, and today we're going to be talking about some NES games by going through this list of lesser known NES games. So I actually have a special guest with me, and that happens to be Igotkings. So introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, this is Brian, known as Igotkings on YouTube. I want to thank BioPhoenix for having me on to talk about my favorite system ever, the NES, and some lesser known games.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah, it's a system I do like too. I also grew up with it. I mostly grew up with Super Nintendo, but NES was one I also played quite a bit too, and I still like it. So, yeah. So
Yeah, you were telling me about some of you had some banger of games growing up with your NES. You got at a yard sale, or you got some good games with you, like Zelda 2 and some awesome games. I was like floored at the games you had
yeah,
for.
dude. Yeah, no. That this was like in like the late '90s, early 2000s when I got mine, and yeah, there was quite a lot of like heavy hitters in there. And when I mean heavy
Yeah,
hitters, I mean like like the well-known like Nintendo IPs that are really good.
yeah, you had some good ones.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just get this shit started because as you can see, there's 6 pages full of like games right here. So yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna enjoy this.
All right. So first up, we got Eight Eyes.
Okay, I did play this. I don't know how to play it though. Very confusing. You have it's a two-player game. You can play the other player can control the eagle, and that's pretty much all I know about it. Looks like Simon's Quest too.
Yeah, it looks very Castlevania-ish, and yeah, I've played it before too. I could never get far into it. I like the idea of it, but it's one of those games I just need to play more of.
Same here. I'd like to sit down and actually give it a longer try.
All right, next up we got Apodox.
I played this, probably just stuck it in when I got it and played it. Not, I think I played it till I died, so I don't know much about this game at all.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty decent shoot 'em up for NES standards. I played it. I actually own a copy of it still, and yeah, one thing that is interesting I will say about it real quick is that it might actually be like the goriest game on the NES on a technical level because all the levels are literally made out of like blood and guts and like bones, which I think is kind of
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Looking at the cover here, there's just blood dripping from the X, like the whole bottom part of the Abadox, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like the Inner War, some Deadly Inner War or something, and it's Milton Bradley published, right?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you could say it's a very metal looking game.
It is. This is one I'd like to try. I'm kind of scared off of shooters a lot. But strangely enough, I've beaten a few on the NES, so this is one I'd like to try.
Yeah. All right. All right. Now we got the Adventure Island series. We'll just talk about this all at once.
hmm So the first one I played, I played all of them on NES except for one. I beat all of them on NES except one, and I don't really care for the first one as much as two and three. And two and three are pretty much identical, except three has like an extra dinosaur or two that you can ride. But the first one starts out well enough, but it gets pretty dang difficult near the end if you don't, and then you lose your weapon.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I only played the first two. I've actually literally never played the third one for some whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, you're not missing too much. It's just like two, except you have an extra dinosaur and you can actually crouch.
Oh, okay. Well, that's weird.
Yeah, it's weird, but there's not much more difference. Um, yeah.
All right. Now we get Adventures of Dino Ricky.
I did play this, and it's like a weird vertical shooter where you're a dinosaur instead of a spaceship, and you like throw like I think axes or something, and then there's like you actually can jump too. You have to jump from a top-down perspective, and
Yeah, I remember
that's
that.
where it gets kind of confusing because you're trying to shoot stuff, but you also have to jump to avoid hazards, and it gets very difficult.
Yeah, no, I actually have that one too, and I think
hmm
it's a decent game, but it is tough because of the perspective, I think. And also, it's like auto scrolls too, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about the auto. Yep, it's a vertical auto scrolling shoot. Yep,
Yeah, so if
like
you
a
get stuck
shooter auto
behind something, you
scrolls.
just die.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a shooter, but you're a caveman instead of a ship. You could put basically a ship on them, and it would be the same thing, except you got to jump to avoid like pawns and stuff. So that
Yeah.
makes it kind of tough.
Yeah, already. Yeah, I think it's okay.
hmm
Alright, next we got the Adventure of Lolo series.
I played the first one, and not very far. I'm not too good at the Lolo. It seems very daunting to me, so I think I got through the first two puzzle rooms and kind of got fed up with it. Not fed up, but kind of bored with it. So I didn't get much past like the first three rooms or something like that. And I do own all three, but I've only put most time into one.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I only
Mhm.
played 1 and 2. I never played 3 at all, but, from what I played of 2, it's really not that much different from what I
Okay.
remember. I mean, other than the fact I think it, like, has a different, like, graphical style slightly, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And more like, yeah, because it's came out, I don't know, probably much later. And it's also, doesn't Kirby have something to do with the Lolo series?
Yes, well, one, it's made by HAL, the same
Oh, yeah, yeah,
company, and on
yeah.
top of that, too, yeah, the Lolo characters appeared in other Kirby games. They were even in the Kirby anime, which is funny.
Yes, that's where I saw it when I watched it with the button mappers. We were doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that like those random ass characters just got like their own game, like, and now they're like kind of forgotten. It would be kind of interesting if they ever did like something new with it, but I just don't know if they would.
Yeah, I just don't know what else they could do because there's three games that are very similar with 100, like, I don't know how many rooms, but that I imagine they exhausted all their puzzle ideas for those three games. Because
Yeah, well,
that's a lot of Lolo there.
yeah. Actually, one little fact I will mention quickly is that there's actually more games to the series than what's on the NES. There's actually a lot of them that were
Oh,
Japan only, but
I
they were
did
on
not
like
know.
Japanese PCs and such,
Oh, like PC,
like
X8.
MSX and all that.
Okay, MSX. I always get the 68,000 and MSX mixed up.
Yeah, like they had games like on those systems too, and they had like different names, and it's kind of confusing and interesting actually. But yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. One day I'll go through.
yeah.
One of them at least.
All right. Next up is Adventures of Rad Gravity.
Yeah, I've actually put a hour or so into this game. The music's horrendous. It looks like a very janky. It plays like a janky platformer. It is a janky platformer, and the graphics are also not very good. I remember getting lost in it and not knowing what to do, and the music kind of drove me to turn it off because the music is very irritating.
That doesn't sound very promising, but yeah,
It,
I've
it's
never
not.
played it ever, so
You're
yeah.
not missing much. It's like a janky platformer that doesn't really. It's like, where the heck do I kind of go? And when you're running around with that music, it kind of kills it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. It doesn't sound like a good time.
Not really. No,
All right. Next up is Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
I have not played this one. I own it, but I don't remember playing it.
Oh wow, I actually played one that you haven't played.
Yeah, nice. Can you tell me a little bit what type of game
Okay,
it is?
so I
Platformer, I take it?
remember I downloaded a ROM of this game. I never played it on an actual cartridge. I downloaded it from a ROM because I was like, Adventure of Tom Sawyer, like, how do they make that into a game? So I wanted to try it out for that, and then when I booted up, I was like, okay, so yeah, my guy looks like a farmer, and
Yeah.
I remember like the platforming. Like, there's two different parts of the game, from what I remember. There's one where it's like side-scrolling platformer, but it's like kind of weird and not really that great. And then there's like a, sort of like a scrolling shooting part, but where
Oh,
you're on a raft, kind of like the cover.
oh, oh. Okay, I'm looking at the cover. There's Tom and Huck, and then I forget the girl's name. Okay, shooter. I was not expecting a shooter part.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's actually a shooter, but it's like an auto-scrolling like raft part where you gotta like avoid like rocks and
Oh, okay,
such.
like Tubin or something,
Yeah, Tubin. There you go. That's a better comparison
which we
than a
might
fucking
get to.
shooter. But yeah, it's kind of. Then it goes to like that, and I never got past those parts because they're like really hard.
Yeah.
It's not that
Okay,
great
but
of a game, but like I said, I had to try it out just because I was so curious about the title. Because I was like, how the hell do you make that into a video game?
yeah, that is curious. Like a Tom Sawyer, man, the NES just had license. They just licensed anything they could to make a game out of.
Yeah. All right.
Interesting. Okay, thanks.
Yep. Next we have Air Fortress.
Yeah, I have played this one. I like this one a lot, but it's like a shooter. It's very hard. Basically, the gist is it's a side scroller. You go through the first part to get to the fortress. There's like 7 fortresses. Go through the side scroller first to get to the fortress. During that side scroller, you collect your weapons that you're going to use in the fortress. So it's important that you do good there. Once you're in the fortress, you have to find the core. You go in there, blow up the core, and then your time limit, like a Metroid escape, to get out. And once you escape, it's a maze, so each fortress gets progressively longer and more harder. So the first one or two you might get through, but by the time you get to the third, fourth, fifth, it's a huge labyrinth. You have to really map your progress to get the best way out, or it explodes. And the music and during the escape is very, very dreadful. Like almost like a, not, how Sonic gives you that dread with the underwater part, but it's like
Yeah.
that. almost like that.
Yeah, no, I've played this game. I actually still own a copy of that one, and yeah, I actually really love Air Fortress. I think it's a very underrated NES game. Like you
Yeah, I'm
said, like
with
I
you
love
there.
the fact that it
Yeah. Mhm.
combines like, like the shooting elements, but then when you get into the fortress, it kind of you get off like your ship and you start shooting stuff on your own. I think that's just really cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool game.
Yeah, I got very far through it. I never beat it, but I got to like I think like the fifth or sixth
Oh,
fortress, and
nice.
the
You
game
were
got
you
like
were
really, really hard.
you were knocking on the door there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very close. But maybe one
Nice.
day I might beat it though. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good game though. Like I would
Yeah, I
definitely
enjoy
say
that
it's
one. I
really
think
fun.
that's a very underrated one.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Next up we got Amagon.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Amagon. My cousin had this game, and I used to go down and play it. And I actually played it a few weekends ago, maybe last weekend a little bit. Still never made it too far. It's a funny game because you don't want to be the Marine who's the kid's the Marine who trash lands his plane. So you don't want to be him because he dies in one hit. So you want to collect these icons or get, I think it's 60,000 points, and you can turn into Amagon by hitting select. And during there, you can take hits, multiple hits, and you can just uppercut everything. But it's very, very difficult because you have limited ammo to shoot with the kid.
Okay, I've never actually played it, but I always used to see it around all the time
Mhm.
because I remember that cover art is just so fucking like
Yes,
cheesy
it's so
looking.
weird. It's so weird because it's like a little kid, and then he grows up into there's like a big, huge, like Arnold Schwarzenegger redhead guy behind him.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
his
it's
face
very
looks
weird.
like he has like the body of Arnold, but his face
Yeah,
still looks like a kid.
yeah. It's like they just copy pasted his face up there. It's a great cover by by American Sammy, who's owned by Sega now, I think. But yeah, it's a I wouldn't call it a great game. It's like Contra, but worse, and you die in one. Well, Contra, you die in one hit, but it's very. You don't get to continue until the fourth level, and I
Okay,
think once
can
you
you
get
at
to the
least
fourth
shoot in
level,
multiple directions or no?
nope, just straight ahead, and
Okay, well
stuff is
that already
constant.
makes it not as good as
Mhm.
Contra.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And there's something about it that just I think because I grew up, my cousin had it. I keep coming. I go back to it every once in a while, but
Okay, all right,
it's not terribly great, but it's worth trying out. See if you do like it.
alrighty then. All right, next up we got Arkista's Ring.
Yes, this game is pretty great. There's multiple loops to it. I went through the first loop. It's basically a top-down adventure game, but you go through it, and if, as I recall, it's been a few years since I did it. You get these certain items that you can use, and you get a bow. You upgrade your bow to get stronger. I think you have to get armor too, and you have to find the treasures, and then you get certain items that you have to save for the last fortress. There's these ninja enemies that are a real pain in the butt that you have to use this certain item to kill them. So you want to stockpile that during the last most of the game so you can use it to make the last part easier. Once you get to the end, it loops. I think it loops 2 or 3 times, maybe two at least. But it has really good music from what I remember, and it's a pretty fun game. It's like a top-down adventure shoot, almost like a shooter Gauntlet style, but not as like frantic as Gauntlet.
Yeah, I actually really like this game. This was a game I remember I found like years ago, and I was just like, "Oh, this looks kind of cool." And then when I played it, I actually ended up really liking it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I even like did a review of it years ago because back
Oh,
when I covered the game, like almost like nobody like did videos on it. So I was like, well, I guess I might as well be the one to do it. And
yeah,
yeah, I
definitely.
like it. I like it too. I think it's fun. I find it's kind of like a Zelda game, but without like the adventure aspect. But if it was more like
Yeah,
arcadey,
yeah, it's almost like a top-down. It's more like a Gauntlet, but not as frantic as Gauntlet. With some like you said, Zelda adventure elements because you collect items, but it is arcadey, like you said, with those items. It's not like you need them to cross a pit like on Zelda One or anything like that.
yeah,
It's more
like there's no
shootery.
map or anything.
Yeah, no map, but the music's good enough to carry you through, even when you're not. You're.
Yeah, I remember liking the dungeon music. Like when
Yeah,
you're
I can't remember it
underground, I like
offhand.
that.
Yep, like the whole soundtrack is pretty good. That's another Sammy game. I don't know. It's
Yeah, but
another.
this one's actually really good though.
Yeah, yeah. I'd recommend this over Amagon.
Yeah, for sure. All right,
Hmm.
now we got a Steinax or
I,
whatever.
I think that's how you say it. Astion X, whatever. I always said Astion X. But yeah, my cousin had this as well, and I played this as well. And it wasn't until a few years ago I actually beat this. It's almost like Legendary Axe on Turbo Graphics. I think it's by the same developers. So you have a charge meter for your sword. So you want to wait for it to be 100% before you swing, and then it does the most damage. You also upgrade to like a spear and an axe and some other weapon that you can get. But it's very enemies are constantly bombarding you. So you have to constantly move quickly, or you'll just get swarmed. And I didn't make it all the way through it once, and I remember it taking me a great deal around the swamp level, around level 5 or something. I think it was that, because it was really tough with the enemy placement and everything. But the soundtrack's decent, and the story with the little kid who gets stuck into the fairy realm or whatever, I forget, is kind of, it's great. I wouldn't say great, but it's something.
Okay. I only played it a little bit, and I can say I think it's kind of cool, but yeah, it definitely is kind of tough.
Exactly. It's really like you really have to time your charge shots or swings, and there's stuff always coming at you. It's okay.
Yeah,
I thought,
I have played Legendary Axe, and I can definitely say I think those games are better. So I guess you could say this was kind of like the, like this, like the precursor to that.
yeah, I think it was the same developers. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure.
But it plays very similar to it
Mhm.
though.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Next up we got Athena, the NES
I don't.
port.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played this one, or I can't remember playing this one.
Okay, I've played this one. I've actually even played the arcade version. The arcade version I actually think is a pretty decent game. The NES version, unfortunately, it's not very good. It's a pretty bad port.
Is it a platformer?
Yeah, it's a platformer. Yeah, where you play as like Athena, which, as you know, she ended up being a playable character within the King of Fighters series.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
See,
that's actually
I'm
where
not
she
used.
originally started from. Was from yeah, she had her own little line of games before she appeared in King of Fighters. Yeah,
I would have never guessed she was in a King of Fighters game. That's
yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy to
I
think, right?
guess
Yeah,
that's
like it's
nuts.
so
I
nutty.
kind of wants me to check out a King of Fighters game with her in it.
Yeah, well, she's in like most of them, so
Oh,
yeah, because
nice.
she's kind of like one of those staple characters there. But yeah, no, this NES game, unfortunately, like I said, it's not a very good port. Like the music's like really like loud and obnoxious, and like the graphics are
That's
very
bad.
like meh looking. Like they're not like awful looking, but they're not like good looking either. And
It's
like the
very
movement's
early
very
NES,
janky.
right? Yeah. I think it's pretty early NES, right? 86, 87, something like that. So
I think
yeah.
it is an early one, yeah, because I know the arcade game is like mid '80s, so.
Okay. Well, that's okay.
Yeah, I'd say if you're ever gonna check out that game, I'd say like get like the
Arcade.
arcade version or
Yeah.
like the other ones there. Like they're not too bad.
Yeah. Well, there you have another one I haven't played. There you go, Bio.
Yep. All right, next up we got Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Have never played this one.
I surprisingly have played this one.
There
Um,
you, there you
this
go.
one, like the title suggests, it's based after a movie that a lot of people like hated at the time, but is now considered a cult classic. Or I think this one is
Yeah, the
more based after
movie.
the
Sorry.
cartoon.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because the movie was one of the first VHSs I remember ever watching.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah. So I never seen the cartoon.
Yeah, I think this is more after the cartoon than the movie,
Okay.
but still, I still have to mention the movie because how could you not? But
Yeah, I still remember the theme song. So I guess it's a platformer, like every game
yeah,
back in
it is a
those days.
platformer. Yeah, and it's unfortunately, as again, it's not very good either.
Better
Um,
than Athena.
maybe by like a smidge.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's not
That's
that
not high
great, but
praise then.
I'll be honest. Outside of that, the game's pretty like forgettable. Like I don't really remember much. I just remember it just being like a weird platformer, and it just had janky movement. And also, I remember there was like a lot of parts in it. Well, maybe not a lot of parts, but I remember like when you first start out, like the first level is like you kind of don't know what you're doing.
Oh, it's one of those kind of almost like a turn. Well, yeah, almost like a lot of those early NES games were like that with platformers, like cryptic ways to go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember about it. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not that great. But like I said, the fact that they made a game based after Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is just funny.
Yeah. Man, they made everything in NES games back then.
Yeah.
Do you have a cartridge of it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I emulated that one. I've seen a cartridge of it many times, but because I emulated it first, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna pay like $20 for this shit.
Yeah, I have the Game Boy version of it.
Oh, okay. I wonder if
Yeah,
that's actually any different, because that one
I
I
don't
never
know.
played.
I don't know. I'm curious. I couldn't compare them, but
All right, moving on. We got the Banana Prince.
I had never even heard of this game.
Yeah, understandably so. This is actually a PAL exclusive, or at least it was in PAL in Japan, but not over here in North America.
Oh, okay. See, the Europeans got something we didn't.
Yeah, they did. I actually never played this one, but I remember watching a video of it like years ago, and I always got curious of trying it, but I just never got around to it because I kind of forgot about it. It's just weird. How can you forget about a game that's literally called the Banana Prince?
Yeah, that's a name I think I would have remembered had I heard it growing up. It almost has like an 80s anime style, like Conan Boy of the Future look to it or something on the cover or something.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Wonder Boy.
Oh, yeah, Wonder Boy, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I remember it being like kind of like a platformer, and I think it had like quiz sections like in between like levels, sort of like Alex Kidd,
Oh,
one of the
but
Alex
hopefully
Kidd
not.
games.
Yeah, the rock, paper, scissors, Jankan stuff.
I think it had something like that in between levels or something. From what I remember seeing, I could be wrong off this because, like I said, I haven't looked at footage of it in like ages.
Well, now I gotta look up this game. This is the first time I've ever heard of this, so yeah, thanks. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Alrighty, all right. Well, moving on, we got Bandit Kings of Ancient China.
No, this sounds like a Koei game, so I probably never played it.
Yeah, I've never played it either, but I always loved the cover art of it because it was actually made by I always forget his name, but the dude that made that cover art, he did like a lot of like really cool artwork. Like he did a lot of like the Japanese posters for like Godzilla and like Star Wars, and
Oh,
he even
oh,
did. Wait, what?
it's not Struzan, is it?
No, no. I
Okay.
think his last name was like Harai something.
Oh, it's a Japanese guy. Okay,
Yeah, he's a
never mind.
Japanese guy, and I know he also did the cover art for Do Megaopolis, which was a really weird but cool anime that I like, but it has a really cool cover art. But yeah, that's what I mainly like about the game. But yeah, like you said, it's a Koei game, so it's one of those games where there's a lot of text, not a whole lot of action in it. It's kind of like one of those like really like strategic strategy history games. Yeah.
Yeah, but people who like it really like it. They get into them a lot.
Yeah, like I want to get into them because you know me, I'm a Koei fan. Like I
Mhm.
do like a lot of their games, so I've always wanted to get into those games. But yeah, you really have to be in the right mood to do
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I just, as a kid, they never would have spoken to me.
Oh,
The
me
cover
neither,
looks
dude.
cool though. This cover is freaking awesome. Like you said, it's detailed doll heaven for an NES game. This guy went all out drawing that.
Yeah, no, he was a fucking great artist. It's a shame that he died like a couple years ago because I don't think you could ever like duplicate that again.
Yeah, for an NES game, like, jeez, man, he went all out. It's like, here, make your magnum opus for Bandit Kings of Ancient China. Jeez.
Yeah. All right. Well, unfortunately, that's all we can say about that.
Yeah, I haven't played it.
Yeah. So now we got the greatest game ever made, Barbie.
I have not played this. Maybe I should to get ready for the movie, huh?
I actually forgot about the movie. I've actually
Yeah, I
never
haven't
played
played
it
this.
either, but of course I've seen it around, and of course I've
Yeah.
seen people joke about it, but yeah, I've never actually played it, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it has that high tech expressions quality. Probably, I see it right down there. People talk about LJN, but high tech expressions, man, that's not really.
Yeah, they weren't that good.
And they had some like that Tom and Jerry game. I tried to like that one, but and
Hmm.
yes, I can't really speak about this one. I know it's a platformer. That's about it.
It's a platformer made for little girls, or,
Mhm.
girly man.
Girly Manu like girly
Yeah.
things.
Alright, yeah, so, yeah, not much we can say about Barbie. Alright, next up we got is Cyber Stadium Series Base Wars.
Yes, this is one I rented at Video Visions in Armagh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up a lot. Not a lot, but maybe once or twice. And I remember the music being good, and you had like baseball fight. Like you get to a base and you could fight for it. And even if you're out, if you win the fight, you could take the base.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
I
interesting.
Yeah, I liked this game. I thought it was pretty good. It was definitely a lot more interesting than the one baseball game that I had on NES.
RBI baseball.
No, it was one of the Jellico ones.
Oh, Bases Loaded.
Yeah, I think it was Bases Loaded 2.
Oh, not even the first one. Okay.
Yeah, that was the one that came with my NES all those years ago.
I don't remember you listing that one when I asked you about your NES games.
Yeah, well,
It must have been a sports
I mean,
game. I
it's
might have
baseball. It's not that
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, right.
Yeah, but no, I like Base Wars. I think it's pretty cool. I would like to see like a remake of it because I always like over the top sports games that are not realistic. Like I'm always up for
Yeah,
that type
like
of
Mutant
stuff.
League Football. Yeah,
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you there. Even though I don't really care for baseball.
Oh, same. But like I'll play like a ridiculous baseball game like that one, and I
Hmm.
can have fun with it.
Yep, fights and knock out the ref or the ump or whatever. Kill
Yeah,
him.
the umpire. All right, next we got Batman: Return of the Joker, one of the lesser known Batman games on the NES, or the one that doesn't get talked about nearly as much.
Oh yeah, but it's fantastic. Sunsoft, so you have the great music to keep you on, even if you're not doing so well. The gorgeous game. It almost looks like an early 16-bit game. The sprites are huge. The music's rocking. It's not a very long game. It's maybe 4 or 5 stages, maybe. Trying to think. It's not overly difficult, but it will. You have unlimited continues, I believe. So you can, if you pound your head against it, you can get through it. But it does pick up a challenge around the Joker fight, where he's in this like flying
Oh, like the
capsule.
Eggman looking thing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you okay? So you played it too?
Yeah,
Or you?
I played
Okay.
it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good game, but as you said, it does get like really hard. Like I remember that like cave section like has a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
like annoying shit you got to avoid like really quickly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the music is just fantastic, man.
Oh yeah, dude,
Sunsoft.
I love the music too. I know a lot of people compare a lot of the songs to like Mega Man, and yeah, it kind of does in certain spots, but I find a lot like that very first stage music is just really awesome.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, it's just freaking great. The bass and that and everything. That's Sunsoft. You knew that Sunsoft was doing it with that. As soon
Yeah,
as you
no,
hear
I
it,
love all their
you can tell a
soundtracks.
Sunsoft. Yeah, you can tell a Sunsoft soundtrack, and this one has a great one. And like you said, not very well known. There was a Genesis port, which I haven't heard much about, but I haven't played too.
I never played the Genesis version.
Me either.
All right, next up we got the Battle of Olympus.
Oh yeah, this has become one of my favorites, and I only played it once, and I can say that because it was so memorable to me. Beat it maybe a year ago, and it was a blast. Very Zelda 2 looking. In fact, the developer, just a wife and an artist and himself developed it. I think it was I forget the name of the company. It begins with an E maybe, but he said he was inspired by Zelda 2, but he wanted to make like a more of a love story based in the Greek times. So a very fun game. It's not very cryptic either. The translation is pretty good, so you can figure out where to go. There's two continue options. One lets you continue at the last checkpoint, which is like a god you talk to, and you keep your olives, or one that retry where it retries at the screen you're at and you lose your olives. You usually want to find the god, talk to him. That way you can know the map, and then you can lose if you die, which you will. You can just go to retry and go back there without losing your currency, which is olives, you will need some olives to buy stuff. But once you get past that, I think the game's easy enough to follow. With, like I said, the translation is pretty surprisingly good, that you
Hmm.
won't get lost too well. It is kind of difficult. The hit detection's not great because you have this little sword. You do get upgrades. You get like a ranged weapon, like a wand, and the music is very good as well. And yeah, it's just the overall. If you like adventure games, like action adventure, like Zelda 2, Xanadu, Crystalis, Legacy of the Wizard. Maybe not Legacy of the Wizard. It's not really like that too much, but those type of games. I think this is one at least you could try and see if you can get
Yeah,
into.
I actually own a copy of that one, and yeah, I always really liked it too. I always thought it
Mhm.
was a really cool game. And
Yeah,
yeah, I actually didn't know that it was made by like some dude and his wife, like a really small team. That's interesting. I
yeah.
actually did not know
I
that.
think it was their only game or one of their only games, but it was like a passion project of theirs.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, that's it's always cool to hear about stuff like that, especially from like back in like the day.
Oh yeah, when games were only made by a few people in a few months, it's amazing what they could put out. Some of the classics that were put out, and they still hold up. Some better than others. But it's
Yeah, and
amazing.
I always liked Battle of Olympus. Yeah, I always thought it was a cool game. Although, like you said, like it does have its like weird issues, like the hit
Hmm.
detection isn't the
Oh
best,
yeah.
but
Hmm.
it's still like a pretty solid game.
Oh yeah, that first Medusa boss took me forever to beat because you're really usually at the beginning of these games is the hardest because you got to get over that hill and then you kind of go down from there. The difficulty spikes and then it gradually decreases or evens off. Once you get past that, it's a lot easier to figure out the continue system. But yeah, like you said, a little janky up again but you got to learn it. Like a
Yeah,
lot of
like I
games.
said, I don't think it's that bad of a game compared to like
Oh no,
many
I
other
think it's
games out
great.
there.
Yeah. Mhm, yeah.
All right, next up we got Battle Tank.
Not played this one.
I haven't played it either, so you're not alone. I guess we
Moving
just
on.
weren't interested in tank games.
Yeah, I guess you're a tank and you battle.
I guess. All right, moving on. Bonk's Adventure, the NES version.
I've not played the NES version of Bonks.
I've never played the NES version either, weirdly enough. I played the TurboGrafx version like many times, but I just never really got interested to play the NES version because it just looks like
Mhm.
the same, but the graphics are not nearly as nice looking.
Yeah, pretty late release too. The NEC just kind of put out there after they, I guess I don't know if the Turbo is still around or whatever.
No, the
But
Turbo was around, yeah.
okay, I thought maybe they stopped producing it and they put it out later. But yeah, I've tried playing Bonk a lot of times. Like I have a save state on a Bonk game on my Wii Virtual Console, but I can never get the timing down right on the headbutts.
It is a bit tricky to get used to, yeah. Like the movement's a little bit on the slower side compared to like what you'd think it would be.
Mm-hmm. It took me a while to realize that you can keep floating in the air almost by spinning,
Yeah.
and then I think they expect you to do that. And climbing the walls with your teeth is kind of cool.
Yep. But yeah, no, I like Bonk's Adventure, but I haven't played the NES version. And also, like, one thing I'll say last about it is that I find the color palette in the NES version is kind of ugly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
Like
has a lot
compared,
of like peach colors, and it just doesn't look
oh,
good.
it's very peachy. That's an interesting color palette they went with. Peachy.
Yeah, at least from what I remember, anyways.
It's really expensive now, and there's no point to play the NES version really anymore.
Nah, not really. All right, next up we got is A Boy and His Blob.
Not only have I played this game, but I had this. This is one of the games I had growing up. Made by the guy David Crane who did Pitfall.
Oh, yep.
And it looks like an Atari game almost, and maybe a 5200 game or something like that. But it's very primitive looking. It's an adventure game. Basically, you don't jump; you just run and you whistle to call this blob companion, and you have different jelly beans that turn into different things, like a tangerine trampoline one, so it turns the blob into a jelly bean, a trampoline, and you can jump to high areas, or a ladder, licorice ladder. So you have to use those jelly beans to progress through the areas, and get to to save the princess in the on Blobonia.
Blobonia. Such a
Yeah,
funny word.
yeah. It has a catchy soundtrack. It's not. It's a very difficult game to recommend because you need to really take your time and put effort into it to learn what to do. Because you will die a lot and redo the other things a lot and a lot and a lot until you figure out what to do, and then you can go through it
Yeah, I
pretty
rented
easily.
this game back in the day because, weirdly enough, even in the early 2000s, there was actually a store in my area where you could actually still rent like games from like older like generations. Like they never sold off like any of like their older
Oh,
games, which was really cool.
that's pretty cool. Man,
Yeah, and
you
so I
had
remember I
you.
used to like
Yeah.
rent a couple NES games that they would have, and this is one of those games that I rented because I was like, A Boy and His Blob, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
And
it's a. What did you think about it?
I think it's I think the game is charming. It has
Mhm.
like a good idea to it, but yeah, like you said, the game is very like hard and like it's really hard to figure out what you're doing cuz I can tell you even when I played this game back then, like without like a guide or anything, I didn't get very far. I had like no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, it's not really a good weekend rental, but this is a game if you had as a kid and you had a few games, it would grow on you a lot and you'd learn it and you'd be able to beat it. But it's not doesn't leave itself well to a rental, I don't
Yeah,
think.
no. Did you ever play the remake that they made on the Wii?
Yes, I did quite a lot, and I liked it.
Okay,
Hmm.
cuz that one I haven't played, but it always did look cool though.
It's not really much like the NES version. They tweaked it a lot. I mean, you have
Okay.
a blob and you have jelly beans, but I don't remember playing anything. Oh, I remember this part in the game. It's very different. Way Forward did it, right?
I think so. I can't remember exactly. It does look like a way forward game from what I
Hmm.
remember.
It's decent to try out. I think if you like the idea of a boy in his blob, but didn't like the NES kind of like archaicness of it, give the Wii version a shot. You might like it.
All right. Next up, we got is Bram Stoker's Dracula, the NES version.
Have never saw this or played this. I never saw it. Have never played this and never saw the movie either.
Oh, dude, I love the movie, but
Yeah, it's one I want to see.
yeah, it's good. I still think it holds up very well. But as for this game, I've never played this version, but I played the Super Nintendo version, which I know is like
Oh,
pretty different. And I've also played the Sega CD one, which is also very different.
bet you that has full motion video in it.
Yeah, that one has like the full motion cutscenes, and then it also has like a platformer parts in it where you use like a Keanu Reeves looking guy, and it's really janky.
Nice.
But yeah, this NES version, of course, the only thing I know about is really from the AVGN video when he talked about
Yeah,
it. And I remember,
same here.
yeah, and I remember there was that like one part with the like the Mario blocks.
Oh, okay.
They actually have literal like question mark blocks that look like taken from right out of Mario, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I've never actually played it, so I won't say much.
Yeah, I can't really speak for that one
All right, next up
either.
we got a cult classic, Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah, very late. It's a late game, but a good one. I have played this one. I do own it, and it's very fun. Unlimited continues, a great soundtrack, platformer. You basically start off. You get your friends. If you ever saw the cartoon, based on a cartoon, I haven't saw the cartoon, but you have friends you collect who are captured, and once you collect them, you can use them, and each has a different ability. You can upgrade their life bar and their power of their weapons. Uh, and it's very forgiving. It doesn't take when you die, you start pretty well. The checkpoints are placed well out, and you get back into the action pretty quick. And it's very fun. And the music is once again very great.
Yeah, no, I love Bucky O'Hare. That was a game like I played because a lot of people talked about it, saying it was like an underrated great game, and then I was like, all right, I'll give it a try, and I did, and I was like, yeah, they're right. It's actually really
Oh
really
yeah,
fun.
yeah. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you played it. It's a good one. That's one
Yeah,
that I think out of all these so far, I think probably that one or another one, maybe a top two or three so far we go. That's I wish more people would try out at least.
yeah. Well, I know like for one, the game's kind of expensive, or at least it
Yeah.
was at
Yeah, it was
one
pretty
point.
late, I think. Yeah.
But if you have a way to emulate it, then yeah, go for it. It's
Which
great.
you do. Yeah. There's ways to do it. Yep.
Yep. All right, but yeah, no, great game. All right, next up we
I
got some
agree.
Bugs Bunny games.
Yeah. I am not familiar. I have never played Birthday Blowout.
Okay, I've played that one.
Yeah, all I know from that is the Angry Video Game Nerd early. Video game nerd.
Yeah, I played it before. I'll be honest, I don't think it's that bad of a game, but it's
Mhm.
also not really great either. Like I think it's like okay, like it's fine. It's
Okay.
playable, but it's just nothing particularly amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay, but yeah, most people know it because of the AVGN video, and yeah, like I said, I don't think it's that bad as what he says it is, but I think it's all right.
Right.
And
Uh,
same thing with Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle. I find this one is like it's not that bad of a game, but as again, it's just nothing amazing. But of course, the whole like Crazy Castle series is just confusing, and I don't want to get into the whole mess of it because it takes a while to explain.
Yeah. They're like Woody Woodpecker games or something. I forget.
Yeah, they changed it to Woody Woodpecker
Yeah.
later and all this weird
Yeah.
crap. But yeah, honestly, I don't think it's that bad of like a puzzle platformer where you just got to avoid the enemies. Of course, the game is hard, but I think it's like a decent game for what it is. Honestly,
I,
I think I like Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle better than Birthday Blowout because I think it's at least a little bit more interesting.
that's the one where you go into doors. It's like one room challenges or something.
Yeah, there's doors you gotta go through,
Okay.
then there's like stairs you gotta go up and all that, and you gotta avoid touching the other characters like Samity Sam.
I have played this one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're jogging my memory. I played this one, but not. Yep. Not Birthday Blowout. I want to
Okay.
make sure didn't get those two confused. But yeah, I have played Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle. I think it was a. I mean, I don't remember much about it, but I remember like the doors going in,
Yeah, I
and
think
then
it's an okay game. It's not great, but
yeah.
I think it's serviceable.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright. Next up we got is Bump and Jump.
Yes, this is a fun game. Well, I wouldn't say fun. I try it each time. I'm going to play bump and jump, and I'm not very good at driving games, so I always end up just I don't know how to play this game, I should say, but I always give it a shot, and I don't think it's bad. I just need to learn how to play it, and it's surprisingly difficult for what it is. You think it would be easy, but it's a surprisingly very difficult.
Okay, I've never played it before. I
Yeah,
actually kind of
so
forgot like what type of game it was.
okay, so it's like a top-down racer, but you jump and you jump, but you have to jump all the time. I think what you got to do is jump on the cars. So you're constantly want to be jumping, but you got to time your jumps well, because there's pits across the track, and you don't want to be in the air when a pit is about to come up and land in the pit. But you bump into cars to get them out of your way, and you jump. So pretty much what the game is, it's like a top-down like racer.
Okay.
I think it's an arcade game that was ported.
Okay. Yeah, I've never played it in the arcade either.
Yeah, I haven't. I've just played the NES version.
All right. Beret Fighter.
Yeah, this is like I said, shooters. I've maybe beat a handful of shooters in my life, and Beret Fighter is one of them. Is like made by I think Ken Lobb when he was a company. Whoever did this, he was working on it. But it's basically like it's like a side scroller where you can turn around and shoot.
Yeah,
So
you can
shoot.
like your guy makes like a circle. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You can circle around. It has great. It's pretty. It holds my interest enough to beat it, but I can't tell you anything much about like what I did in it. I remember wanting to see it to the end, which I did beat it. So it must have been pretty good, but I can't remember much else about it.
Yeah, I played it before, and I actually also own that one, and I can say I actually really like it. I think it's actually like probably like another like really good shoot 'em up for NES standards, but it also is a bit tricky. I find like I never beat it myself, but I always liked it.
Yeah, I remember the last boss taking me forever to beat, and there is a second loop. That Ken Lobb guy, he worked for Nintendo for a while, and he was the guy who got the Klobb gun named on N64 GoldenEye. He did a lot of those. He did like GI Joe, those games on NES, and he did a lot of stuff for them. And this was one of them. I remember seeing his name in the credits. But it's fun if you like shooters. I think this is one. There's like top-down sections too, where you're exploring like a big not open world, but a big map where you're on top trying to find the exit. If you remember.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, those were
okay.
Really stages.
I think it's pretty good. If you like shooters, this is one. I think.
Oh yeah, I like it. All right, next we got Cabal, and not the Mortal Kombat character.
Okay, Cabal. Yeah, I did play this one, but I know it was behind the back shooting like the Punisher game on NES, but I didn't get very far.
Oh, it's one of those games? I didn't even know that, because I never played it.
So, if I'm remembering the right one, basically it's like Wild Guns or Punisher or Dynamite Duke on Genesis, where you see your guy and you're shooting, you shoot to pick up items, and you shoot stuff in front of you.
Yeah, sort of like a light gun, but not really.
Yeah, you control the guy, and you basically use a reticle. The guy doesn't even have to be there. It's just like you just move a reticle and shoot stuff, and then you kind of avoid stuff.
Okay.
It's a Milton Bradley one too, I think.
Yeah, I can tell with the border.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Captain America and the Avengers.
And yeah, I have played this one. I rented it growing up at probably Video Visions again in Armagh, Pennsylvania, which is no longer there. But I remember I tried it again a few years ago. I was like, I remember this game. I want to get into it. I don't really think I like it that much. I tried. I just couldn't get into it. It's a platformer. You go to different areas of the country. And you go to like San Francisco, you go to Florida, Tallahassee, you go to Pittsburgh, you go to different areas of the world. And you have to, I can't remember, it's very like you got to do certain things in those areas to get your Avengers back. But I could not, it's not bad, I just couldn't get into it. But, maybe
I don't remember playing this one, so I don't think I played it.
Okay.
And if I did, I probably just don't remember.
Yeah, it's very forgettable. It's nothing great, but I couldn't get into it. But I don't think it's a bad game. It controls well, sounds fine, has an interesting play mechanic to it. But I just don't remember. I just remember not really caring for it that much.
Okay. And what about Captain Skyhawk? Or what I used to make fun of it as was Captain Skycock.
Oh, there you go. No, I can't say I played Captain Skyhawk, but I played Captain Skyhawk, uh, and it's like a over the head flight simulator, not flight simulator, but almost like Afterburner. But you're looking like, is it top down? Am I
It's
thinking of it
sort of
right?
top down.
Or isometric or something like that? I'm
Yeah,
trying.
yeah, I would say kind of like that, yeah,
Kind of.
ish.
Okay. I remember always just firing it up and just running into a wall, literally, or a triangle, I should say, or a sphere.
Yeah,
Or in
like the
something,
ground
yeah.
looked like it looked like Tron.
Yeah, it was very like what people thought the 3D future was like gonna look like 3D shapes and cubes and stuff like that. It was like a grid like Tron, like you said. What did
Yeah.
you think? What did you think about Captain Skyhawk? I mean Hawk.
I don't think it's great. I think it's one of those games that starts off like way too like bullshit hard, and it's
Hmm.
kind of not really exciting. It's pretty forgettable, honestly.
Yeah, I don't remember much other than running into walls, so I
Yeah,
can't
so
really
that
speak.
can't be good.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that's that. The only reason why I remember it is really just for making fun of the name.
Captain Skyhawk. Nice. I'm never gonna forget. I'm never gonna forget that now. I'm always gonna be
Yeah,
calling it
all
Captain
right.
Skyhawk. Thanks.
Next up we got is Castle of Dragon.
Ah, God, I don't think I played this one. I have it, so I might have played it, but I don't want to say yes because I don't remember anything about it.
Okay, I played this one, and I actually also do own a copy of this one too, because it was
Hmm.
one of the few like weird NES games that were like not expensive at all at the time.
Okay.
And it's actually related to that one game from Activision on the NES. It was called like Swordmaster, I think.
Oh, the side-scrolling beat 'em up with the sword where it's kind of weird to play. Like you move kind of slow. Okay, I know which one you're talking about. I
Yeah, it's
think.
related to that. It's in the same series, weirdly enough. Yeah, and
Okay.
it plays similar to that, and yeah, it's a little janky and kind of not that great, but I kind of like the aesthetic that it has, and I like the music too. It's one of those games that, like, I think I like it more than I should, but I know for a fact
Yeah,
it's
I
just not
understand that.
great.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of those games. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's one of those
Sometimes,
games that, like, I wouldn't recommend it to most people, but I would just sit there and be
yeah, there's
like,
a certain kind of jank
it's
that you kind
okay.
of enjoy. Yeah, yeah, I definitely understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'll say on that. Like I said, it's just interesting knowing that it's related to another game with like a completely different name.
Yeah, it's Sita. Okay. Is that how you say that? Seta? Sita? Seta. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how
Didn't
to
read it.
say it, but I know they
Yeah.
did a lot of weird shit.
So I might not have this one. I think I have the next one we're talking about, though. Castle Quest.
Okay, can you remind me what this game is? Because I think I played this one, but I'm not 100% sure.
It is a puzzle platformer, like one screen puzzle platformer, I believe, from what I recall. Almost like Solomon's Key, but uh, not as memorable.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh yeah,
it's
no,
not like
Solomon's Key
Solomon's
I've
Key, but
played.
not
Yeah.
like Solomon's Key at all, but like a puzzle platformer, like that type of like game. I think, like you have to get from one end to the other, or something like that, like a puzzle platformer arcade, like one screen kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I've never played it.
Hmm. It's not. I think I put it in, died, and well, that's something else. It's a game you got to really get into, like sit down and put into. So I can't really say if it's good or not. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's probably a good game.
All right. All right. Next up, we got a City Connection.
I have played this, and I think you got to. That's the one where you paint the road black or something with your car, and you got to avoid obstacles. Could never get into it, but I don't think it's a bad game. It's an arcade port, I think, but
It is, yeah, City Connection. Yeah, from what I remember, because I do remember playing this one. It's basically like kind of platformery where you use a car, but it's not a
yes,
racing game, which is weird.
yeah, yeah. I should have mentioned you drive, and it's like you're jumping on the car to paint the road a different color to fill it in. Yeah,
Yeah, it's something like that. I think it's not bad for what it
no,
is, but I
I
think
mean
the
it's
arcade version is probably
yeah.
better.
Oh yeah, of course, probably. But I mean, it's early. You know, they were porting stuff to NES, and probably a good port of it back then. Playing it, if you wanted to play City Connection, probably you'd like it.
Yeah, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Hmm.
Next, we got his Clash at Diamond Head.
Oh, Demon Head.
Or Demon Head. I don't know why I call it Diamond Head. Maybe it's because I'm
Kind of
thinking of
looks
the
like that.
band.
No, oh yeah, Diamond Head the band. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I played this and I went through it, and the only reason I got through it because the copy I had a map. Somebody stapled together 3 pages of a page or two of a map. So I
Oh,
just used
shit.
his map, and it was actually so good that I didn't really have to look anything up, which kind of took away from the game a little bit. But I kind of wanted to use the map because this kid took his time to draw it out, so I used it, and the kid did a good job with the map. Basically, you're just it's like a open-ended platformer game where you have to pick paths to go on,
Yep.
and you basically go on the right path and you find a shopkeeper, buy items, upgrade, find the next area, the next boss, beat him, go to the next area, and you got to remember which way to go to get to certain areas. So you kind of need a map it out yourself. I remember not loving it. I thought it was good, but not great.
From
But
what
it's a good game.
Yeah, from what I remember liking it, but yeah, like you said, like if you don't have like a map or a guide or anything,
Mhm.
it's pretty hard to navigate on exactly where you're supposed to go. But I always like the action aspect to it, though.
Yeah, and the guy's name is like Bang or something like that. And it's a really weird
Yeah.
story to it. It has like little cutscenes, animated heads talking, which are kind of full of charm. I think this is a game you get out what you put into it. If you would sit down and map this game out, it would be one of your favorites, I think. And I kind of missed out on that by following a map.
Yeah, well, since you said map out, maybe the button mappers should cover it.
That's right, they should map out Clash of Demon Head, you cowards.
Yeah, come on, just make it happen, guys.
Do it.
But yeah, I think it's a cool game. It's just the navigation is weird.
Yeah, I will give it this. It's hardly there's nothing else like it on the NES.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
mean, there's similar stuff to it, but there's nothing like with that kind of map system and like going to different areas like that. There's like other games like it, but it's kind of unique in that
Yep.
way.
All right. Next, we got the last one on the first page. Man, we're still on the first page.
Yeah, this is fine. It's fine. We're doing
Yeah.
good.
All right. So this one is Cliffhanger, based after the Sylvester Stallone movie. Which I am so disappointed it does not end in a cliffhanger. What the fuck?
Yeah, you'd think it would, huh? No, John Lithgow as the bad guy. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Look, sorry, I like to make that joke every time I talk about the movie.
That's a good one. I never thought of that one. Yeah, you think Stallone is climbing a mountain in a tank top? How that's smart. I mean, come on. But yeah, I have this game. I played it. It's not great. It's a platformer. It's one of those platformers. Like, where do I go? What do I do? Very weird kind of controls. It didn't leave a lasting impression on me.
Yeah, I've heard the NES version is not really good. I remember playing one version of it, but I don't remember which one. It might have been on the Genesis, I think.
Yeah, there's like a CD one where you like snowboard down on a body or something like that.
Oh, maybe it was the Sega CD version I played. I don't remember, but I remember playing one version of it, but I know for a fact it was not the NES version.
Yeah, you're not missing anything out. It's not worth it.
Okay,
It's
I
not
figured as
great.
much.
I mean, emulate it if you want, but you probably won't feel the need to go through it.